Hi, Toni. Hi, Toni. Toni. Hi, Toni. No. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Now?
Yes.
I don't think my microphone works, my headset, but that doesn't matter. I don't need it. Are we okay?
Yeah, we're okay. How about you?
I'm okay.
Great.
All right, so now I just have to start screen, huh?
Yeah, please.
Let me just, it's always this technical part that makes me crazy.
Okay, no problem. We have time. Actually, let me put you as a co-host.
Oh, I don't see my thing, huh?
Right, yeah, just let me see.
I don't see my screen.
So let's see.
I only see that long meeting. Hold on.
How about now?
No. Hold on.
The green button next to the chat.
The green button next to the chat. Oh, green button next to the chat. I see the green button. I see it, but I can't. I don't see it now. I don't see it now.
You don't see the green button?
No, not now. Yeah, I see the green button now. All right.
Now share, and then you choose from the square.
I know, but it's not there. You're on there. Oh crap.
Because now you are the co-host. You can
I know, but you're not coming up. You're just there. I can't get the screen up. How do I get the screen up?
just choose.
I know, but it's not there. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, I don't see, you're gone now. I don't see you now. I don't see you at all.
And here.
I'm sorry, I don't see you. I'm sorry.
You don't see me now here?
No, I don't see you at all.
Because I have the video.
I don't see you at all.
No?
It says login is, I'm gonna sign out and try again, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, I see you.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't get my screen up.
Share screen is the green one.
Right, but it doesn't say, my presentation isn't up there.
Okay, so let's see.
It isn't there. I mean, I have it open.
How about this way? Now.
No.
Because now you are the host. No?
No, I did this earlier and I practiced it. Now I've lost you again. To launch the meet in. I can't. My screen is not coming up. My tabs are not coming up.
No.
Files, advanced, basic, crap. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Here, oh crap. I'm sorry. My screen is not coming up. The one that's here. Oh, no.
You are the host. Sharing the screen down at the bottom next to the chat.
Yes, it says share screen.
That one.
Advanced sharing. Should I do advanced sharing?
You share screen. Yeah, you push there. Just click there.
I did. Is it one participant can share at a time? Is that what I have?
Yeah, so you are the one.
Right. But my presentation won't come up when it says share screen.
But you need, there are different squares. Then you need to
No, but
click.
the square for my presentation isn't there. Oh, I just did this the other day. I'm going to check out and try again.
And how about, can you now assign me as a host?
I don't know how to do that.
Let's see.
Wait a minute. Okay, share screen. Here it is.
Perfect.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Now, is this Google Slides?
Yes.
So there is an option for closed caption.
Right. I just have to present it. Should I present it now?
Let's see how it works now.
Yeah. Yes. There it is. Do you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I'm not going to touch anything now.
Okay. and once again, Toni, TOSA means what? Stands for what?
Teacher on special assignment.
So I have this from the logistics section. You are the world language and dual language immersion teacher on a special assignment.
Right.
Okay.
Right. In
Loveland, Colorado, Thompson District.
In Loveland, Colorado. Yes.
Okay.
So
Now,
yes.
I wonder if you can put me as a co-host. So that would be, let me see. Let me see if I can ask you. When it says participants.
Where are the participants?
The participants next to the share screen, the chat.
Where's the chat?
Next to the stop video.
Stop video. I have okay, participants, yes.
So you click a participant, then you click my name and make Israel the co-host.
How can I make you a co-host?
Just click on
your name?
Yeah.
I clicked on your name. Are you a co-host now?
No. Just oh, let me claim. And you are now. Okay, now let me put you.
You're gonna put me as a co-host.
Yeah.
That you do that. That's better.
Now here you are the co-host. Okay.
Do I have to do anything else?
No, now. Not now. Okay, so let me just check the last participant. Just give me 1 second here.
I don't know how many participants we're going to have. It's Monday on a Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend.
We have right now 50, but it goes up.
Right. Well, we'll see. It is a holiday. So can I reduce myself so people can't see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you reduce yourself too?
You mean my screen?
Yeah.
That's.
You can't see me now, can you?
I can see you. I can see you.
Okay, but the rest of the people can't.
Right now, we haven't accepted the participants.
Okay.
So let me just put this here. Just 1 second.
Okay. So I'll close the participants. So one of the things there's a discussion area, and every once in a while, can I ask you to say, let's take a look at some of the comments?
Yeah, so Chan Mei is going to help us with that.
Okay.
So she's coming.
Okay, because when we do closed caption, when we both talk, both of our stuff is here. Both of our voices.
Yeah, but I mute myself, so you will have just the.
Just me?
Yeah. So when I am mute.
Okay, just me.
Yes, you.
Okay, it's okay. Let me just check.
Okay. So...
Okay, wait a minute. I can't advance my slides. Oh, that can. Never mind. I can.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the hard part. Everything else is easy.
Let me
Okay.
check this.
What time is it? 5 till.
Okay, let me accept. Chame.
You must have done a lot of these. I'm just working with Google Meets now.
So Chan Mei is here and she's going to take care of the chat.
Okay, Chan Mei, hi.
It's connecting in this moment.
Hi, Chan Mei.
Hey.
How you doing?
Chan Mei.
Pretty busy, very busy.
I know.
I saw your crazy, where you had your different celebrations, and you were, you know, some of the crazy things that's going on with the virtual classrooms and the virtual people. And
yeah. And I post on Twitter, Facebook, and WeChat, and message a lot of people.
Right. It's crazy. It's wonderful. Hey, so I'm just going to every once in a while say to you, hey, can we check out a few of the items in the chat? And there's one discussion part that's near the beginning that I'm going to have. I'm going to say, just take a moment to take a look at this and type some things in the chat, and then we'll look at it. Then occasionally I'll say to you, hey, can we check out some questions or things in the chat throughout it? Is that okay?
Yeah, I will check the checkboard.
So let's do a try.
Okay.
Okay, let me see.
Where the chat box? Where is
the chat box? Let me see. How many people?
I'm going to say that this is Monday and it's a holiday. Do we have 5 people yet? I don't think we'll have.
No, let me remind my friends on Facebook, on Gmail.
Oh, because it's probably, you know, they're all kind of. I mean, it is a holiday.
Yeah, today's a holiday.
Right. Oh, now I can't get it back. There we go. It is a holiday, so maybe there'll be 4 or 5 of us here. I'll talk to my son.
No, right now we have 65.
65?
Yeah, so far, but normally we go over 100.
Right, but it is a holiday. It's Monday at the holiday. They've been partying all weekend all by themselves or in their houses, but.
So I'm going to welcome, you know, like
right.
Admit everyone.
Sure.
So are we ready?
We wait for a little, for a couple minutes. I don't believe just only we 3.
No, we are 70.
70?
We are 70?
Yeah.
Wow. Can you see
Israel, did you assign me to be co-host?
Okay, let me. Now?
Yeah, please assign me to be co-host.
No, like now do you see that you're the co-host?
Yeah, now I'm a co-host.
So we're all co-host? So at any time you could take over this presentation and run away with it. Cancel me out. Is that what your plans are? Stay.
Okay. Could you wait for 2 minutes? Let me remind the other groups.
Zoom coup.
Hi, Toni.
Hello. How you doing?
You can chat. You can chit chat.
Hey, nice of you to come on a Monday. That's
webinar. I have to come.
We won't get to see each other this summer. That'll be.
I know.
I know. I know. But are you doing okay?
Doing well. Thank you, Toni.
Are you done with school?
2 more weeks.
Oh, ouch. We were done on Friday, but I'm going to work a little bit this summer. So.
I see. Well, best of luck, Toni.
If I screw up, I'll turn it over to you and you can take it from there.
Hi, Israel, 关老师, Chen
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
你们好，你们好。
你好，您好。Okay, I'll be.
金老师太忙了。
金老师啊 ，OK. Hi, Toni, 雅芬。
哦，陈老师，陈老师。太高兴。
哎，关老师 ，It's all the crazy fun people. All right.
Yeah. 老师好。
你们好，你们好。
大家好，大家好。
大家好。
Well, this is fun. The crazy foreign language teachers, right?
Yeah, we're crazy.
That's for sure. We sure are.
All right. So,
yes, let's start.
It's 6 p.m. on Memorial Day, and we have a special presentation today. My name is Israel Fernando Herrera. I'm the past president for the Indiana Foreign Language Teacher Association, and I'm here with Chan Mei Wang, who is the second vice president and my partner in crime with the professional development and advancement of world language teaching and learning. So, Chan Mei.
Okay, welcome, Toni, to be our presenter. It's our great honor to have you here. I know you're very famous, and now you have a lot of followers online. So it's our great pleasure and honor to have you here. So I got very good feedback from the other Chinese teachers. Even they say, oh, she just came to our state. She just gave us the PD. Wow, so blessed we are. So today is the Memorial Day, but let's celebrate the day together. So it will go global. So
right.
Let's welcome Toni to be to start tonight's webinar.
And we would like also to thank the Indiana Language Roadmap. Teresa Nichols has been so instrumental with the support for this series. So I would like to introduce, as Chan Mei mentioned, one exemplary, known and fantastic presenter and colleague, world language colleague, Toni Theisen. Toni Theisen is the 29 ACTFL National World Language Teacher of the Year. She is right now the World Language and Dual Language Immersion Teacher on a special assignment in the Thompson School District in Loveland, Colorado. She is very involved with the curriculum, and she is here. Thanks for accepting this invitation, and it's great to see you again. I have seen you in many presentations, and there was a lot of expectation for this presentation. And also, before starting Toni's presentation, I would like to encourage you to come on Thursday. We have one more presentation, and on Thursday we are going to have Melanie Mello. She was the 2020 ACTFL Teacher of the Year finalists. And also next week, we're going to have Ken Stewart and Martina Bex. So Toni, thank you for accepting this invitation. We are very glad the Indiana Language Roadmap and the Indiana Foreign Language Teacher Association. Toni, the microphone is off.
Who unmuted me? Now can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, again, we'll start over again. So hello, everyone. Thank you very much for coming here on a Monday afternoon after a 3-day weekend, a special weekend in our history for sure. What I'm going to share with you a little bit, my title of my presentation is called What's Next? Purposeful Planning for Fall 2020 and Beyond. I've really appreciated watching a lot of these webinars that talk about different types of tools and different types of ways of thinking and strategies a little bit as we approach what's going to change a little bit in our lives for teaching starting this fall. So my presentation is really thinking a little bit about what can it look like and what can we do with what we already have to put it into a new scenario. Okay, so now I can't get this to move forward. I'm having a hard time. Oh, there we go. So technical difficulties a little bit. So I want to let you know a little bit about me. Again, I have been in the Thompson School District for a long time, mostly French, but a Spanish teacher for a little bit. I tried to retire several years ago, but we were able to get a dual language immersion program together. So now I'm the dual language immersion and world language coordinator, the TOSA. And you can see some of the other things that I've been doing, but I'm still going strong after 45 years. And I feel really good that that I have these opportunities to share this. Because I'm on the administrative side, then I have an insight to some of the planning that's going on as they begin to think a little bit about what is next along the lines for this summer, okay? I wanted to start off a little bit with this, this Memorial Day. It has a long history, and of course, it's honoring the many people in this country who have given their lives to make this a better country. But probably a lot of people don't really know how this all got started. So you could take a look at this. This was right after the Civil War, and you can read this a little bit about how the former slaves did honor the 257 dead Union soldiers. And they took the time to do this, and this was actually the first Memorial Day that we had. When I was growing up, it was known as Decoration Day, and now it's moved to Memorial Day. So it's a time to reflect a little bit on the important parts of our history, and sometimes part of the history that we never get to hear about. So let's start off a little bit with today. Okay, the essential questions for this are, you can read these, but we're talking about how can we take really what we've learned this spring and apply it to purposeful planning? Because even though you've been doing a lot of planning, we really need to be more purposeful for the fall and beyond. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we've been working in our district, which I think a lot of people are working in universities and districts about how to integrate and examine effective teaching and learning concepts to prepare for all the possibilities of fall 2020 and beyond. So you can see what you'll be able to do at the end of this. We're going to work with the 4 concepts of effective teaching and learning. We're going to talk about how to design an evidence chain as part of a unit learning progression in order to provide a more intentional and meaningful pathway for learners to reach those goals. And then we'll reflect and evaluate unit task in order that we choose the right ones that will lead the students to the goal. It's elicit mindful transfer and application of learning, and all about thinking about fall 2020 and beyond. So some of you might feel a little bit about like this from this past spring, but if you really think what you did, read this. You collectively pulled it together. One day it was school, the next day we were remote, and we really took the bull by the horns. But we were really just creating as we were working along the way. Did we have mistakes? Well, there are a lot of mistakes. Did we learn a lot? We sure did. The kids Did you learn how to work with the kids in many different ways? Pretty much for everybody, that was the situation. And it was a shock. And it really wasn't true remote virtual learning or blended learning. It was really kind of filling the hole for the time we were in. And when we did think about this spring, all of a sudden there was so much to learn. Even though we really had a hold of a lot of things that we could use and do, there was just so much to grab a hold of, so much to plan, so much to grade, and so many variables. And I bet a lot of us felt a little bit like this picture. Talking and listening to teachers on Facebook and Twitter, you can see like, oh my goodness, how can I do this? Students aren't showing up. It didn't work. Parents are yelling at me. I don't know what to do. But you have to remember that every teacher did what she or he could do, and all of that was good. So keeping that in mind, how can we take that as a learning experience and move on? I just want to share a few of the things that I've seen a whole lot happening, and all these wonderful things with technology, and from all the wonderful workshops we've learned with technology. I know all these virtual classrooms are just, they're rampant everywhere. And what a wonderful way for people to connect to this. And this is one of our dual language teachers. She set up a virtual library so kids had some things to read over the summer. Excuse me. I also have another teacher in the dual language immersion program in grade 1 who used a lot of different techniques, and she was really good with technology. In fact, she was using this one for Apple clippings, and this is first grade, really teaching kids about time. So we'll just look at it about 30 seconds. Whoops, I guess we won't. I don't think we can.
¿Qué hago aquí? Pero es que yo venía a hablaros hoy de el tiempo. ¿Sabéis qué es el tiempo? ¿Sabéis cómo se mide el tiempo? El tiempo se mide en hora y para ello se inventaron los relojes. ¿Cuántas horas tiene un día? Pues cada día tiene 24 horas. Pero antes de empezar a explicar cómo funciona un reloj, dato curioso. En la antigüedad, la gente entendía el tiempo de manera diferente. La posición de las estrellas en el cielo era lo que marcaba el tiempo. Y la noche tenía 20 horas. Existen diferentes tipos de relojes.
So you had a chance to see that was how she was interacting with her first graders. And really, she was using some very engaging techniques, but she was thinking about how to introduce the time and the clocks, etc. So I really appreciated all of that and learning so much about that from the different teachers. But it really does talk about how we need to get to purposeful planning. Also this spring, I had a chance to survey the teachers in my district, the world language teachers in my district, on a Padlet about all the things that were going on and what they were thinking about. I asked them what was working, what was not working, what they needed. And you can see some of the things that they talked about. Directions need to be clear. How do we hold students accountable? You know, they really thought that having fewer things to do was more important so they could focus more in depth. And those that were connected to the culture. And then one who had organized about 3 different activities about all the kids, some of the kids having choices, and then the self-agency or independence. So you can see here that they really were thinking about this and the things that were emerging that they need as we get ready for fall. Okay, so I also wanted to share this with you that I found just recently. It's on a site from the UK that talks about when you are preparing and building things online, These are accessibility posters, and I posted the link here. Some very interesting things to think about when you are really working on, oops. Hello. I can't talk. I've lost it. Okay. So are we back here? I don't think I've lost this situation. Okay. So here we go. We have lots to think about. I want to start off with what our district is working on a little bit. And this is called effective teaching and learning. And these are the, oops, sorry, guys. I've got to, sorry guys, I don't. I can't get us back on. Okay, sorry. I don't know why these things are going here. Are we okay, everyone? Can you hear me? Israel, can everyone?
Yes, yes.
We can hear you.
All right, I don't know why we have these, turned off all these machines. So I'm going to go back to this a little bit. This is what our district expects for their expectations from learning, whether it was before, what happens beyond 2020 and what we're doing now, and what is happening at this moment. But if you take a close look at this, it talks about 4 very important concepts. When we think about learning, we really have to, we kind of do it natural, but there's a lot more to consider. And so with this, in our district, what we have been planning of, what do these 4 concepts look like when we're talking about remote, face-to-face, or a blended sequence? I'm going to start off a little bit about the conditions for learning. Do you ever think about the conditions pieces? And the conditions are, what are all the settings that we are thinking about before we even start thinking about the learning that has to happen? So if you take a look at this, what are some of the things? The way we communicate to different groups. How do we engage different students in different ways? We have to think about differentiation. We have to think about how we engage them and work with their parents. We need to think a little bit about things like attendance. And what was one of the situations that was occurring with attendance is we were having problems with attendance. I think because some kids couldn't access, some kids didn't want to access anymore. It was just a very trying time. So our district right now is trying to define and find meaningful ways to engage the students so attendance becomes very important. We talk about prevention, and really we talk about this in the situation of the challenges that faces and how can we have real strong routines where kids feel comfortable and safe, because they need that in order to succeed in learning. And if we talk about the different environments that we're working with, the environment's thinking a little bit about where are the kids learning? Face-to-face? Are they in the building? Are they in different parts of the building? Are they online? And how do we build positive relationships? Because it's so important with the positive relationships for the students, so they feel like that's a conducive place for learning and where they feel like they want to learn. And also the positive relationships with families. Because families, there are a lot of blogs out there where parents were very frustrated. And where they were frustrated is because they didn't know some of the technology. They had 2 or 3 kids trying to do some of the same things at the same time as well as they're working. They were asking for things to be simple. And in the situations when you're talking about, for example, dual language immersion, there were parents that finally realized that dual language immersion on the Spanish side really was Spanish. They were going, but I can't understand this, which threw dual language into a little bit of a tailspin for a while. Next is learning design. These are all the things that happen before we actually get to work with a student. And so many of these, this is where we're really good at. I mean, we talk about the backward planning. When we're talking a little bit about engagement, okay? When somebody's writing on here, Israel, I don't know what's happening. The different roles, how are things relevant? Okay, and how can they be interdisciplinary? And if you think really about what's happening with world languages, we really are constantly interdisciplinary, because one of our standards is about connections to other things. And how do we really have measurable learning goals? And what do those measurable learning goals, how are they defined in this new world that we are approaching? Next is delivery. When we talk about delivery, is it digital? Is it paper? Is it other types of things like manipulatives? What is it? And one of the things we've learned that's so important are learning targets. But we just can't keep those same learning targets. We have to keep adjusting them for the situation that's happening, because we really have to think about this fluctuation and when we're going to toggle between remote learning, face-to-face learning, different types of face-to-face learning. We have to be so purposeful and really that intention of how is this going to work. When we think about technology integration, think about how technology is going to transform that learning. World language teachers are really good at technology, and so many things that we see that teachers using, Flipgrid, they get a chance to talk. Just saw that there's a beta version of Pear Deck coming out. And with the beta version of Pear Deck, you're going to be able to actually talk to the students. That just started, I think they launched that yesterday. We also want to think about learning delivery. How can we ask our students to collaborate? But also, how can we provide situations where they can be independent? They really can take learning into their own hands. And let's not forget culturally responsive teaching. In all situations, for all that means. That is so important. And finally, this cycle of evaluation. And when you think about the cycles of evaluation, we're talking about measuring learning, we're talking about monitoring learning, and we're talking about reflection. So really, when we have the evaluation for learning, that's when we have a lot of little summative checks for understanding. We're going to take that information and we're going to use it to adjust what is happening with the teaching, with the instruction. When you talk about evaluations as learning, that means as you're going along, how can you then monitor the learning of each student and help them move forward? And finally, the evaluation of learning, which is really where you're trying to assess them in relationship to the learning targets. So all of this that we've been working on is something that's not new. It's something that everyone thinks about. We just talk about it as our expectations. But we have spent a lot of time this spring putting together different types of resources and what can happen and what will it look like when we get into our new situations. How's everyone doing? Okay? Good to know. All right.
All right.
Okay. So now there's, sometimes I'm thinking I'm just talking to myself here because it's so quiet. And so now, does that make sense to everyone? I hope it all does. Okay, I hope you're putting some stuff in the chat room, and we're going to check that in just a moment here. But now there's more to think about. And I want to you to take a look at this. And this is where I really would like for you to put some things in the chat. So you can read this very easily, but we're talking about the companies in the personalization, okay? But whether you're working with thematic units, stories, the ultimate goal is communication. So we really have to think about a learning progression. What happens first? What happens second? What happens third? And those little pieces of measurable task become our evidence chain. And it's the evidence chain that we want to go from the point where we say, here's our learning goal, okay? Looking at with the standards and the I-CAN statements, the essential question, all the way to what the assessment is. So triggered by this evidence, intentionally planned, we have to remember that sometimes what happens with learning is that we start to put things in there that don't belong. We put them in there because they're fun to do. Now, I'm not saying that the things that you create can't be fun to do, But if it doesn't have anything to do with a learning progression, then it really should not be in that place, because you're trying to get from one point to the other, from one point to the other, especially in these new times. Would you just take a minute or two, or a short bit of time here, and comment in the chat box a little bit about what you think about this? And then we'll look at what's going on here. All right, can we hear some of those? What are some of the comments that we're seeing?
Questions or comments in this moment? Does anyone want to ask?
Are they in the chat box?
No, so far no question. A lot of good feedback, very positive.
Can you say?
But they're wondering if you like to share PowerPoint with us.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Heidi
No
also.
problem. Pardon?
Heidi shared that Peer Deck has launched the feedback feature. So you mentioned about Peer Deck, and there is a recent feature about feedback.
Right. Yes. That with Peer Deck just launched a beta version, so there can be teacher to student interaction. I don't know anything more about that because I just read that yesterday morning, so I haven't had a chance to check it out. So remember, Peer Deck is an add-on in Google Slides, so it's another really great tool.
Chame, we have.
Yeah,
Toni, we have 2 questions, Chame, on the chat.
Sure.
Yeah, we have a question from Catherine Tsai. She said, I think it's hard to get to let go of what students find to be fine. I don't think my students often know the goals or the why of what I'm doing. I try to tell them the why behind what I'm doing, especially if the activity isn't getting a lot of enthusiasm.
Well,
that's the feedback. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think it's very important that you tell students, and in this time, and that as we're approaching this whole new piece, there should be no secrets. You know, here is the unit, here's the theme, here's the novel, here's what it is. Here are the essential questions, the enduring understandings, the I can statements, and at the end, this is what we want to do. And the job of the teacher is to help the student build towards that. You're going to see some of the examples that I have, we've been working a little bit with our district. Okay.
Okay,
Toni, there's one more question from Jin Lao Shi. She mentioned, can Toni explain a little more about the asset model, please? And there's another question from another teacher.
Which model? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Asset, A-S-S-E-T, asset model.
Oh, the asset model. That's a whole other part of things that at this point I really can't get into. That's a lot of detail, but it's really talking about what do kids bring into it and how can you use that to support their learning. That would be part of the conditions of learning. So I'm going to leave it a little bit at that point, okay? So I need to get through the rest of this. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about here and to show you is this idea of a learning progression and an evidence chain. Again, I don't think this is new to you, but it's a chance for you to really think about how you are organizing teaching so students can learn. So think a little bit about an evidence chain, okay? An evidence chain are the different activities, checks for understandings, summative, formative, all the different activities that you do in a progression that pushes the teachers to reflect on the goals and refine what tasks really do impact student learning. So if you think about this, if you think about something that you're teaching, particularly if you've taught it for a long time, it seems like every year what happens, you keep adding something, you keep adding something, and you keep adding something. But what can happen is things can then last forever. And really what you need to do is reduce it and think, What are the things that we need to do and that students need to do so they can reach that goal? So it really is an idea of prioritizing the task and thinking about the students, what they need at this time, and give them some chance to have some self-agency and the different choices, and to differentiate this to reach the goal without your constantly adding different types of things. Sometimes not for the reason of the learning, is because you really love this unit and this was the favorite thing about it. But in this day and age, we really can't work to that capacity because we're not going to have the time that we had before. So again, we're talking a little bit about the intention, purposeful, not just the fun things to do. And again, I don't want to say, don't have activities that are fun, engaging, but if all of a sudden, you know, you just decide, oh, I've got to add this part. I know it doesn't go with it, but it would be really nice. That really confuses the student of what they're trying to learn. Think about your planning and that learning delivery and those concepts. This learning delivery is so important, as well as the learning design, okay? And we really have to think about, so we can focus on the learning, what students can do, and less on the grade. I know you're going to say, oh boy, that's really hard because kids are so, oh, I got to have this grade. But can you get to a point that this learning is a progression? So it's time to think about learning as an asset model. And I think that's what we were talking about, the asset, what brings something to them that's important to them, that leads to the informed next steps, instead of a deficit model that takes points away. Learning is a way to think about how I am growing, not what I don't know. So in a learning progression, and these are all good practices, and I know you all do them, but it's time to really seriously think about them. Do you have a targeted learning goal for that unit? Sometimes I'll ask teachers, what is the targeted goal? And they really can't explain that to me. And if you can't explain that to me, you've got to explain it to your kids. You've got to explain. Students have to know what they're working towards. And here's another thing. Here's a question you should always ask. How do I know if a learning task should stay or go? Because as you're planning the progression of this unit and you're looking at the makeup of your students, what do they need and what don't they need? And maybe you're differentiating that one student needs this and another student needs this. But you really have to seriously think about that. And how do you know if they're moving towards the unit targeted goal? Well, your different checks for understanding. Checks for understanding are a way to monitor. That's that part of the evaluation cycle. And if they can't do it at that point there, then you've got to back up a little bit and get them so they can do that before they get to the next step. And finally, lots of times we don't do this. How do we use student evidence as feedback? And if anything that teachers were talking about this spring is, it's very hard sometimes to do feedback online because it takes longer and sometimes there's so much of it. So we've got to find out a good management system to give good feedback and in different ways to get feedback, because you don't always have to give feedback in a written form. There are many different tools when you can give feedback in an oral form. Or sometimes a feedback is just 1, 2, or 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 from a simple rubric of which they can go back and look at it. We have a tendency sometimes to think that feedback means it always has to turn into a grade. It does not have to always turn into a grade. It has to inform the student how they're doing so they can move to the next step. So I'm going to give you some examples here. So yes, some of the examples that we're looking at here is, so let's explore this Spanish 3. So we're going to use the UBD format, and we're going to talk about a Spanish 3 unit. that really is at the intermediate low. And remember, again, however you do this because whatever you do, whether you're doing a thematic unit or if you're doing a novel, they all have I can statements and way to organize this. So look at the I can statements. So this is how you're definitely going to plan the learning that is included. So take a look at those. How might you do that? The functions, some of the things you want students to be able to do. And remember, stage 2 is that assessment. So this is what they're building towards. So with this one, how can I have a healthy life? You know, at the end, students are going to create some type of plan for a healthy life for themselves, a family member, or another person. And then there's a choice board. And when you're talking about the new situations we're going to have, maybe it's a movie, maybe it's a Google slide, maybe it's a virtual activity. It's whatever the kid wants to show you in the way that they can demonstrate that they understand this learning. So finally then, we have to think of the learning task. These are the dots along the line of building the learning progression. This is part of the chain of evidence. And when you think about a chain, chains are hooked together, okay? Because they build, they tell a story. They're not separate. So again, what we would do is we would take the standards. And of course, like most of you, our state standards and our district standards are we don't have the 5 C's, we have the 4 C's. We put community in a different place. But here you see, we have the benchmarks and the I can statements. So this is what we're working with. But we've got to decide in these evidence outcomes, there are 3 of them here. Do I need all 3? Do I need 2 of them? What is important to build around this unit? So this is just an example. So here are a bunch of activities or tasks that can be used to get to a healthy lifestyle. Okay? Some of them are very general, some of them are very organized, but I have to think about, I can't have all these. I have too many. This unit's going to drag on. I have to make sure I cut to the chase and get to the point. Now you're going to say to me, which ones do I choose? Well, you choose the ones that best fit what you are doing with that unit, that learning progression. So I'm just saying right now, take a look at these. Could you choose 10 if you're thinking about a healthy life? And of course, number 21 talked about some choices. So what I have done here is I have laid out all the things that I would do in this unit. And realizing I have too much, I now have to make some decisions and prioritize what students need. And I can also use some of these to differentiate, but I can't use all of these because I've learned from the past that this learning progression goes on and on and on, and students can't get to the point. So take a look at this. Okay. In the chat, if you were doing some things on a healthy lifestyle, which ones might you do? And remember, there are no wrong answers because it's all about how you plan something. So take a moment and think about that. Or tell me how you think about, oh, this idea of having a set of learning tasks and creating a chain. What does that have you think about? What are some of your reactions? And Jumei, if you can share some of those, that would be really fun.
Oh, Toni?
Yes.
This teacher asked, how do you evaluate the students?
How do we evaluate the students?
Yeah.
With rubrics. With rubrics. And of course, there's some simple evaluations that are, checks for understanding, exit tickets, thumbs up, all kinds of, using feedback to, that they give me to evaluate how they're doing. The evaluation pieces, if you're talking about how do I actually evaluate them using the rubric, but there's so many different products that they can do. I hope that answers your questions. Some other pieces?
Excuse me, can I interrupt real quick? Toni,
Yeah.
That was my question. My name is Kate, and I was just wondering, maybe I didn't phrase it well, but are all of these things that you would attach a grade to? I guess that's where
No, No, I would not. No, because like I said before, we have this obsession with attaching a grade to everything. No, I probably went out of this whole thing. I might have 3 or 4 grades or less. Because the other ones would be to give feedback to kids, and I can give feedback to kids. For example, we have a short rubric of 1, 2, 3, and 4. You've exceeded, you meet, you're making progress, you still need a lot more help. And 1, 2, 3, 4 is enough to tell them, but I don't have to put it anywhere. I can also have some feedback for them where I could just write them a little note, or I could do an oral type of thing. And that's one of the things, because I think a lot of you were saying, and that was part of what the teachers in my district, there was just too much grading. So does that help out? Does that answer your response?
It does. Thank you so much. I just want to clarify that. Thanks.
Yeah, give yourself a break. We're just too much into that. Any other comments?
Some teachers just wanted, could you provide some website about rubrics? And also someone, Ms. Wang, Wang 老师 just asked, do you use standard grading?
Do I what? Extended reading?
Standard grading.
Oh yeah, whatever the level might be. Yeah, those are many different types of activities, yes. And here, I just threw together 20 different ones, okay? And again, what I'm saying, you need to think about the things as you are planning, okay? And this is really purposeful planning. So these are some of the things that I would do to create this. It's about giving you some links to rubrics. Before I send the PowerPoint, I'll put some links to rubrics at the end of that. Okay, I'll share a few things that I know, but there's so many people who have rubrics, but I'd be glad to share those. Okay, so I'm gonna move on here to the next one and have you think a little bit about this. So seriously think about the evidence you choose as you build the learning progression. So many of us has been teaching for such a long time, it's automatic. But sometimes when we think about it, we go, oh, why am I still doing this? Or this way will work better than others. So make them what the evidence is relevant to the goals and not just something that you attach, okay? So here is the idea of a progression. So if you think about here, that maybe I chose 10 out of that list of 20, and I would plot them on this continuum to scaffold the different parts of learning. And not only would I just plot them along this line here, I would actually think about the order in which to teach them. So as we work towards the gradual release of the student being able to do it. And now when you think about this, and the things that you're teaching, think about what task would work well in a remote setting. What task would work well in a variety of face-to-face situations. And blended, toggle, which ones toggle well back and forth? And why are we thinking a little bit about this? Because this scenario that's going to happen in the fall is not clearly, okay, I'll be in my classroom the way I used to be. Oh, now I'll be online like I was in spring. And some days I'm online and some days I'm face-to-face. Here are some of the situations that we've talked about, and you probably heard in your district too and in your states. We can only have so many kids in one room. It might be that there'll be different schedules at different schools, which makes it very challenging for language teachers, especially those, you're the only language teacher and you have 5 or 6 preps. Or you're a dual language teacher in an elementary and you don't have 1 class, you have 2 classes because you have the Spanish team and the English team, and then you go back and forth. So when you really think about this, you've got to think about what is going to work. And one of the situations when they talked about that it could be this week, this child can't take your Spanish 2 class because they have to take this calculus class in their school. So they might take a Spanish 2 class with another teacher. So how is it that you are working together, not as a teacher by yourself, but with your department and with your district team? So thinking a little bit about this, we're going to show you what has happened. We have been using this learning progression and evidence chain model for a while in our district. Here's one way that we're doing it. And this was a team of teachers working on something. And on sticky notes, they put some of the activities that they were doing. And because they were on sticky notes, what they could do was prioritize, move them around, and eliminate the ones that didn't work. This was a good visual for a lot of teachers. But what they were doing is having good discussions, talking about what works and what doesn't work in the situation that they were on. Another way is some teachers made charts using the 3 modes, evidence 1, 2, and 3, and constantly working in teams and then as they were planning their own lessons. And here's another sample of kind of charting a pathway in the 3 modes. So, and every time we would do this, teachers would say, now I better understand how this learning is going to impact my students. And they are thinking about it as a team, as a department, and then individually for their own students as they work through this. This has been very positive. And this does not mean that we do this for every unit as a team. We're talking about getting this idea in people's heads. And it's not like, oh, I have to create this 6-page lesson plan or unit plan every time. No, it's really thinking about using the resources you have. So at this point, before we just do that, a final last part, are there any comments? Questions?
Questions for Toni? Charmaine, do we have any question on the chat?
Yeah, I'm checking.
Is anybody drinking wine yet? That's my question. I'm not drinking wine yet. No.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Harry from Ohio. Thank you for your great presentation. My question was, why do you have 2 words to say about the learning assessment? You use learning assessment and learning evaluation. So what is the key difference?
Nothing.
I'm sorry?
Nothing. You can call it evaluation or you can call it an assessment. It's okay.
Oh, they're the same, basically, you mean?
Yeah, right. They're synonyms. Okay. It's all that language, right. Academic teaching jingo.
Yeah.
There's a cycle of evaluation of which there are a variety of assessments, but assessments and evaluation. So it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
So go have a glass around here, Harry. In fact, I come from Ohio. Where are you in Ohio?
Oh, Cleveland.
I was in Norwalk, close to Lake Erie, but that's another story. I'll carry on.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Others?
Yes, I do. I do have a question.
Yes.
I'm Grace Pei. I'm from Mississippi.
Uh-huh.
In language learning teaching, I see scaffold this word a lot. What really mean? You have this plot the chosen tasks along a continuum to the learning in order to progress to the goal.
Oh, yeah.
And a little more about this scaffold language.
Scaffolding, okay, you're thinking a little bit about differentiation because some students need different things. Okay. Every students. So think about it this way. As I'm along this continuum, really what I might have to do is build a little ladder with some steps so a person can get to that part of the learning progression in a different way. So think of scaffolding as a ladder, as a step ladder. some additional steps to help out. Does that help you out? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Two more questions, Tony, on the chat, May.
Yeah, that's a teacher just wondering how to differentiate lessons for lower performing students. Do you put activities in the calendar for each unit? So 2 questions. Oh, 3.
Well, I'll cram it into one big answer.
Okay.
I think for students with lower abilities or different abilities, you really want to examine what that student needs. You know, I don't think about them as students with lower abilities. I just think them as students who have different needs. And so sometimes with students with different needs, sometimes they need to have things more concrete. Okay, so maybe they need something that is step for step, or maybe they just need an activity that doesn't have as many steps. Maybe it's clear to have 1 or 2 so they can figure it out. And maybe you just need to have 2 or 3 of them for them to understand what's going on. So always think of students as not a high, medium, and low. Think of them as students that come with different needs. They have diverse needs, and that's part of our role as a teacher, to think about that. And along that continuum, you can have little jogs along there that are little step ladders to help that student get to that point. And it might be in some situations you're working with that student, or there's a way to partner that student with somebody else, or there's a way to connect that student with some other resources that might help that person grow. I forgot the rest of your question.
Thank you.
Okay, did that answer it? Okay, all right, so now, I hope you're thinking a little bit about that progression. Really stop, look, and say, is what I'm doing helping students? All right, and it's about them. And we all know that. It's just sometimes we have to put extra eyeballs on that. And think about those conditions of learning, learning design, learning delivery, and evaluations of learning. Okay, how are you monitoring kids? How are you adjusting? And how are you finally at the end thinking about if they're doing okay? So there's still a little bit more to think about. And it's this, it's team. Quite often when we kind of work on these types of webinars or things, it's kind of directing to the teacher. But in this, now more than ever, it can't be just one teacher. I know some of you might be the only teacher, but there are many of you who are in departments and you are in teams. And for the sake of the students now, we really have to let down the part that says, I'm just doing it like this, or I just want to do this. We have to help the student out. Because again, if 1 week the student is with you and then 1 week the student is with another teacher, how is that going to help that student? And if they're in the elementary, how is that going to help the parent? So in our district, here's their perspective. They're asking for consistency. In fact, I'm on a team this summer to think a little bit about that. How can we prepare for these 3 different scenarios in any way they might manifest? And that the planning that we do, it's consistent across district. So, you know, we've, for example, I'm going to share in our district because I know that, you know, we've been building curriculum units and things for a long time. And sometimes people get off and don't always follow them or doing them. But we can't do that so much next year. Does that mean that the teacher can't still have their own creativity and choice? Oh no, we're not eliminating that. We're just using the framework of the lesson and the lesson progression and ideas to help students, that it's really about them. So we're going to respect these concepts, and we're going to create learning progressions and evidence chains, but we're going to give still the teachers the freedom to kind of create the things that are there. So for example, what is happening is we have decided that we have too much content. we have too much content. We've always had too much content. We've been working on trying to get to a point where we're going to update our curriculum. It's been a little hard because we haven't been able to meet, but this is the perfect opportunity because learning needs to be flexible and adaptable now more than ever. And we have to be able to design learning that can toggle between virtual, face-to-face, and many different situations. So I'm going to share to you what we did in our district just to check this off. And maybe, you know, to give you an idea of how group planning. So in April, we knew that really what we had was a couple units left of each one of them. And I would probably guess that teachers were panicking in many different ways. You know, how can we reach the goals of these things? Because what about next year and all those types of situations? So I have a really wonderful leadership team of department chairs and liaisons from 6 to 12. And then we didn't do so much, we did different things with the dual language. I'm talking about 6 to 12. So each one of the department chairs and the liaisons had a team. Like this one department chair was going to work with level 1 Spanish, and this one with French 2. And so we put together a plan. And the plan was this. We were going to bring together and we were going to talk about what was the last unit we were all going to do. Then we were going to choose what were, as we call them, success criteria, which are the standards I can statements. And then we were going to talk about week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What was the major focus? And you can see here, even though that won't click for you because this is a picture, is we had a folder where people could put in resources. Because we had some teachers who were new, who had nothing and didn't teach for this. Some people wanted to share and do these things. But what it is we finished the year with everyone in Spanish 1 teaching these concepts with these I can statements and with these success criteria. In German 3, in French 2. So it got teams to talk together for once seriously about what is essential. What are the essential outcomes that we want? What do we want kids to leave with? What can they do? What can we do? And still within that framework, teachers had their own creativity because some add stories, some add pictures, some have different projects, but we learned what different things people were doing and they shared it. So that was really positive. So then we knew probably fall and beyond was going to be a challenge. So I brought my team together and, you know, even though we've been looking at this and knew we had too much content, we had way too much content. We had way too much content and we really couldn't get to any depth and we really couldn't get for students to actually show and what they can do at different stages, okay? So we worked together to take whatever the 5 or 6 or 7 units we have to reduce them to 4. Now you're thinking, whoa, how are we going to do this? Well, because we had these teams before and we worked before, the same department chairs met with the level 1 Spanish, the French 2, the German 1, and they decided from the content that they had that they were going to choose 4 units. Now what they could do with those 4 units and put them in any order that they like, and they could combine some if they want, or they could even come up with a kind of a new idea, because this was our opportunity to update our curriculum and try out some new things in this scenario, as long as we were working together. And even one group used a Google form, put the units and they voted. So there was a lot of really interesting things going on with these leaders. You know, all I said is that they had to align with the standards in the ICANN. And most of them were so happy to reduce it to 4. They had some wonderful conversations. And I think in the end, they went home thinking about, oh goodness, I have an idea of what I'm going to teach next year. And even though that's 1 a quarter, you're going, that's not very much. Well, you've all experienced what happened to online learning. No way could you get that. And even if we have more time, we can build on it. We'll just meet together to keep building. But this was a template that we used Okay, so I've asked them to do, I asked them to fill out the beginning part. I asked them to put in the I can statements. We went to the standards, the link of the success criteria, and they put the different I can statements for whatever mode they wanted for that, or the modes that they wanted for that. And then you can see wherever it says in the fall, we will come back in the fall to build this up a unit at a time. And I think from this, we're going to learn a lot, that how do we work with remote? How do we work face-to-face? And really, that we're doing things together. So if a student has to toggle between different classes, not saying that that's going to be the situation, but we're ready for it. And there was lots of good teamwork and lots of good communication. And to top it off, they did all of this the last week of school. They were more than willing to work with this. It was just wonderful to have such a team like that, because we thought how important this was. So this is an idea for maybe for you as you kind of finish up things or have a discussion with others, that you can't just make these decisions on your own, okay? So for example, German, you know, I just kind of listed the units just really simply. I didn't put any more details, but look where they kind of thought about how they went from 6 to 4 and what they were thinking. And of course, in the fall, they can adjust different things. This gave them a really freedom to think and organize. And then here was, you can see here, an example of one of them that they came up with. And so they did this for all 4 units. And most of them did them in an hour and a half. They got together, and it's been very successful. I know Kelly Parkhurst is on this meeting. Kelly, you were part of that. Do you want to, can you say a few things? Can you unmute and say a few things? I think she's here.
Hi. Yeah, it was just a great collaborative process. The teachers were really able to talk together and excuse me, and hash it out. What were the really essential things that they wanted their students, excuse me, what did they really want their students to be able to do? And again, it allowed them to look at the success criteria and really pinpoint what are the I can statements for each of the modes that were really, really important. And if you'll notice in the document that Toni has up, there are, like, there's one statement for interpersonal, and then for interpretive and presentational, there's a couple of the I can statements. So they weren't limited to just have one. But again, having led some of the groups, it was just really, really wonderful to see all the collaboration, because they just want to know that they're going to be doing what's best for their students and doing it in a way that's real and authentic.
Thank you, Kelly. And again, I want to say, we are not taking away the teacher's creativity or how they teach. That'll still be there. We'll have a folder, a resource folder, where we'll share a lot of things. And this is just going to be so great as we move down. And I know we're going to probably have a couple new teachers, and to bring the new teachers into these folds at this time, I think that this will be very helpful. So really thinking about, and when we go back, we will take this template that we have, and we will start working on the learning progression and evidence chains, and working towards evaluations that really do measure what kids to do, and it can do in so many situations. So before we kind of go to some questions, I'm going to review a little bit that now you have these 4 concepts of conditions, a learning design, learning delivery, and evaluation of learning, mixed with thinking about building learning progressions with strong evidence chains, things that are relevant, interdisciplinary, connected to culture, all that great stuff we know, but you're really thinking about those goals and intentionally and with purpose, planning, and then planning with department and planning with teams, okay? And it becomes mindful transfer. So as we close here, and then we'll answer some questions, I want you to reflect, how does this use of learning progressions with evidence and chains of multiple measures help you do these things? Okay, help you just maybe, and hopefully it can help you be a little bit less stressed, because things, you know, districts, what they're doing, being on that administrative side now, they're working really hard to make things work differently, so it's more like school instead of just a survival mode, as we talked about the conditions, thinking about attendance and thinking about routines and transitions and relationships. So in that way, I'll take a few questions and then I'll close. And I will share this. I will put some rubrics at the end to before I take it. So are there some questions before I close up just a tiny bit?
There are 2 questions on the chat, Sean May. And if there is any other question, just let us know.
May I just say some thank you? I think, Toni, you really helped me to, I was thinking all this. Now this is such a timely topic.
Thank you.
You really helped me string up all of my thought I have. You have used the string, tie them all up all together. Now I can really clearly have the progression. Otherwise I was thinking, do this, do that, do this, do that. Now you just paint a picture for me and tie everything together for me. Thank you so much. You are so inspiring. I feel I'm so excited and so inspired. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay, others?
Let me see.
Yeah. Toni, this is Grace again. I just want to say thank you very much, and thank you for using this time. This is Memorial Day. We have here for the professional development. Thank you for your time. And it is really helpful. And as I'm thinking about what I'm going to do for next year, so this is very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm just going to close up with a few thoughts here. So I did put a few resources. We have in our district this virtual learning site where, in fact, what we were doing is making mini Google Slides presentations on culturally responsive and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it's just not related. It's not specifically related to languages. They're related to so many things. And then we have a digital catalog of which you can go ahead and access any of this if it helps you out. And there'll be more as it continues through the year. But, you know what? I want you to read this quote, okay? And I want you to remember this, because that's another thing that comes around. You go, how are we going to have kids catch up? And I don't want to see one more article about how behind our kids will be when they start school. We are teachers. We will meet our students where they are, and we'll move them forward. This is our work. This is what we do. And this is what we do well. And to all of you, Liza Jane, my little wiener dog, and I, we wish you a restful summer, and we thank you very much.
Thank you, Toni. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. And we really appreciate all the information that you have shared with the Indiana teachers in the nation, and also teachers overseas. This has been so wonderful. And once again, I would like to invite everyone on Thursday. We have one more webinar with Melanie Mello. And also next week, we're going to have Ken Stewart, the first ACTFL National World Language Teacher of the Year in 2006 is going to be with us. And also Martina Bex on Thursday next week. So thank you. You can follow Toni on Twitter and also Facebook. And we will see everyone again on Thursday.
Thank you. And I'll send you the PowerPoint or the link to the Google Slides.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for coming on this Memorial Day. Take care.
谢谢大家。星期四见。
哎，川梅，谢谢你啊！这样，这太好了，真的及时雨，非常非常好，谢谢你，川梅。
好，不客气不客气，大家好才是真的好。
真好。
谢谢你们过来，谢谢你们。
谢谢谢谢。
Tony, can you stay just for a
Yeah.
while?
Yes, I can.
星期四是我会星期四我会发通知，应该也是6点吧。
一样的时间吗？
我确认一下啊。星期四，记得是一般都是6点。
一般都是6点是吗？我们芝加哥这边是5点，嗯。
对，芝加哥咱们这边是中部时间，但
还好是
是
一个老师提醒我，错过好几次，老搞错。
是吗？
现在记住了，记住了，谢谢你啊！哎呀，这太好了，真的，这个 class 将这个全部加起来，真的是你有很多在脑袋瓜里，现在这些东西放在一块儿就全部串起来了。哎呀，太好了，太好了。
星期四是4点。
其实我也希望会有回放。Okay.
So Israel, do you want me to?
Yeah, just 1 second while people are just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought I'm speaking Chinese. I
It's okay.
can't thank you enough. I just can't, Tony. I can't thank you enough. I'm just so inspired and fired
然后
up.
总是把大的移到前面来，这样就容易
Oh,
做
thank
嘛。
you very much. It's wonderful that all of you came.
Thank you. I am going to go. Thank you so much.
Take care.
哟，这个人一听，你看 Daddy， 你要向 Daddy 学习，但一听有题目做，像疯子一样的跑过去做，对吧？那你呢？可你也应该做。我还跟我说。
Hello, Israel.
Hello.
Yes. Are people still here talking?
People are leaving. But we will post the video, the webinar.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll put a few more you know, they wanted some rubric links, so I'll just find some rubric links and send it to them. But is it best that I send you a Google link?
For example, yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, Google. You mean the Google Docs and
yeah.
Share.
Is that better?
Yeah. So that's for the PowerPoints.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's see. There are more people here. Just 1 second. So I think
now we're safe. Thank you so much.
Just the 3 of us?
Yeah, only us 3 of us.
Okay,
I put them in
Toni,
the waiting room.
thank you very much for this.
Thank you. Nice to meet all of you, and thank you for the opportunity. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, so Teresa is going to be in touch with you. Teresa is traveling. Teresa is the other side. You might remember she was with us in the logistics session.
Yes.
And she will be in touch with you for the honorarium and a paperwork, I think, that the Indiana Language Roadmap needs to do. But just let us know if you know, if you need something from IFLTA. We will be, you know, glad to help with the thing. So just to confirm, we are going to upload this. That this was a wonderful, magnificent presentation. You could see, or you maybe not because you were presented, but we could see many comments on Twitter. So you will see that.
Okay.
You will see those comments after this session, and coming from you know, like previous presenters, and they were sharing, and they are part of the, you know, like the big groups like the School and Central States and NETFL. So that's great because this is going to be, you know, like opportunity for many teachers to know about, you know, how we are going to face the next semester. So thank you very much. And nice dog. Lisa Jane is the dog?
Yes, and see, I had a shirt made with her picture on it.
Nice.
But
I took another picture for you of this webinar. So I will post on Twitter and Facebook.
okay. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry there was some confusion with some kind of calls coming in. You know how you thought you had all of your...
Oh, that's normal. That's normal. That's very normal.
It happens. Yeah, it
You
happens.
thought you had it all done. But Israel, all of you help with, you know, maybe you'll feel a little bit better getting onto Zoom, because sometimes, you know, those little things, those little minute details make you crazy.
This happens.
Crazy. Okay. Well, have a good evening. I'll send you that information, the PowerPoint link tomorrow, okay?
Wow,
Okay,
thank you so
Toni,
much.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I'll leave.
Great.
Leave meeting.
Okay, that was great. Help me
How many
then.
participants?
Huh?
How many participants?
There were at the same time 181, but coming and leaving 195.
Wow. How did you count the number? I don't know how to count the number.
The numbers? With, you know, like there is the peak, and then I can count who is leaving, who is coming, leaving and coming. So those are the maybe more, because you could see with Besna from the Zoom report. Actually, there were 220. So yeah, people come and go, stay 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But at the same time, we have 181.
181. So you said more than 300 people registered, right?
Right, yes.
So what's the total number for the registration?
Or registration so far? So far, we have 726.
726.
In total, right?
In total. How about only for Toni?
For Toni, well, that number, Teresa has that number.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember last time you mentioned about 325.
26, that was the number, but I don't know if since that time there was a change.
Oh.
Some
teacher just registered last minute.
Who?
Catherine Tsai. So I just shared the link with her, and she just joined in with the number.
Oh,
she registered. She said she didn't get the link.
Right. Yeah, I sent the ones who were registered. So I sent it at 3, and then the last 4 ones. After that time, I send it separately. So this is what I have. The moon.
Yeah, that's right.
This.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, but then with your cell phone, right? With your cell phone.
Yeah, with your cell phone. Today, I created a WeChat group that's Global Indiana. I told them to speak English and wait for your coming. Use your cell phone number to create the account.
81267999169. I'm here.
So you cannot create an account?
Let's see, privacy policy. I accept all the conditions.
So they're all English or Chinese?
English.
English. So you can do, if you have a question, you can screenshot and send me the message. Verification.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish. So it says a star.